Polls have just closed in a by-election for Daniel Andrews' former seat, with counting beginning for the Mulgrave electorate. Victoria political reporter Simon Love is live with special coverage tonight. Simon, how will the count and tonight play out?
Hello, Ash. Well, we're expecting some form of results from the Victorian Electoral Commission by 8 o'clock Eastern tonight, and the Commission has confirmed that it will be conducting a two-candidate preferred count between Labor's candidate Eden Foster and the independent candidate Ian Cook. Now, that is a sign that the Commission believes that even the Liberal Party may not come second in this electorate, but they can switch that count later in the night. So it's an interesting thing to start. No early figures in just yet. The polls have only closed 20 minutes ago, but this is a seat that is going to be quite an interesting electoral test for both major party leaders here in Victoria tonight. On John Pesciuto's side of the ledger, after winning the Warrandyte by-election in August, which was up in the northeastern suburbs of Melbourne, he comes here to Melbourne's southeast to a seat that Daniel Andrews used to hold, and finds that he has to go in a contest against the Labor Party for the first time, led by Jacinta Allan, who herself faces this first electoral test as leader of the Labor Party, and also in this crucial seat that many insiders say is a tale of two ends. Essentially, the northern end, Wheelers Hill, Mulgrave, the suburb of Mulgrave, is more of a friendly area to, say, the independent Ian Cook, potentially even some Liberal winning booths up there, particularly in Wheelers Hill. But where we are in Noble Park, particularly where Daniel Andrews has quite a legacy down here, upgrading the local rail line to a sky rail, and as well having a lot to do with this local RSL behind me. Well, there is quite a factor of the incumbency with Daniel Andrews obviously retiring, and quite a bit of a popularity there. So it'll be interesting to see the different booths that come in tonight, and whether Ian Cook, the independent, of course, who owns the catering business I Cook Foods, which this week in the Supreme Court had a bittersweet win where it was declared that an order to shut the business was invalid, although no compensation costs were awarded to him. We'll be watching to see whether he gets a bit of a sympathy vote tonight. It's on a 10.2% margin, so that's quite a hefty margin that Labor has. If that is cut in any fashion tonight, no doubt there'll be questions about the Labor Party and how it can hold some of these bellwether seats that it has held since inception, since 2002.
And Simon, there's been some concerns about low voter turnout.
Well, voter fatigue is a big factor in this by-election, Ash, and that's because voters over the past 12 months, not only have they had to go to a state election to vote where Daniel Andrews was returned as the local member in November last year, almost a year on from that we are now, but the voters recently had to go to the polls for the referendum. And of course today, now there's 47,000 registered voters in this electorate, and the VEC in the days prior have been issuing warnings about voters not turning up to the polls. They've been putting up billboards in all sorts of different shopping centres and also out on the highways to try and make people aware that if they don't vote, they could get a fine. And I was sent this photo today, which I can hope we can pull up on the screen, which, some of the Liberal Party believed it was an effort by Labor to try and ensure that voters weren't getting a fine. The signage there in red essentially saying, do vote, otherwise you would attract a fine. And I was told also by senior insiders within the Labor Party that they sent out door-knocking squads this morning in this area to try and essentially encourage and get those votes over the line, because there is a view within many of the three major camps in this contest, those five featured candidates that we could bring you. There's a view within the three that the low voter turnout would be an issue for Labor. But the major party leaders, they've both been here throughout the day, and my colleague Holly Edwards-Smith has been around the electorate getting a bit of a sense of the mood.
For the past 2 decades, the electorate of Mulgrave in Melbourne's southeast has been Labor heartland, held by former Premier Daniel Andrews for 21 years. Now, for the second time in less than 12 months, voters will have their say.
Would much prefer a change. It's time for a change too, I think, so that'll be good.
I think Mulgrave's been looking for a change for a while now, to be honest with you.
Bit of change, I think, bit of change.
On a margin of 10.2%, Eden Foster is hoping to retain the seat for Labor. The former mayor of the city of Greater Dandenong says she isn't intimidated by the seat's former member.
Really feeling the support here, and got great volunteers around me and great people that are coming through pre-poll and today on election day, and so there's great encouragement and great support, so I don't really feel that pressure.
The by-election is seen as a test for opposition leader John Pesutto. He's hoping the Liberals can produce a better result than they did in 2022.
Yeah, last year was a tough result for us.
But Liberal candidate Courtney Mann believes Daniel Andrews' legacy could work in his favour.
He was a member here for 20 years, so he's well known, but he was also, after 1 year leaving, I think it's left a pretty sour taste in a lot of mouths. So people are coming out today and they're letting it be known they're not happy about that.
Flanked by the Cookie Monster, independent candidate Ian Cook is running for his second time. After preferences, he received 39% of votes in 2022, but he thinks the independent movement could get him over the line.
If I was the Labor candidate, I have to represent Labor first and the electorate second, and we don't see that the way democracy should be working. I should be representing the people of Mulgrave first, and then if you're in a party second. So being an independent and not being bound by those has, really struck a chord with a lot of people.
Hoping to provide a boost to Labor's candidate Premier Jacinta Allan joined Eden Foster at a polling booth in Mulgrave. Since 2010, voter turnout at Victorian by-elections has been on the decline, and historically that has seen a drop in Labor's vote. Holly Edward-Smith for Sky News in Mulgrave.